Hey, it's your boy, the Casual King MMA, and today we're going to look at the monopoly the UFC has over the combat sports world. When you look at competition for the UFC, you got one championship. They have a decent niche in Asia, but they're not ran very profitably as a business and will not be in business for very long. You can count on that one. Bellator MMA went out of business, bought by PFL, who people only watch the highlights of a Francis Ngannou fight when that rarely happens, which I'll get to later. Boxing, Manny Pacquiao Mayweather 2 kind of shows the absolute state boxing is in. Muay Thai, kickboxing are cool, but a little too niche and don't have worldwide appeal. Wrestlers are going over to MMA, specifically UFC, to make more money. Gable Stevenson makes his UFC debut on the Conor McGregor card, which will give heavyweight a great boost in the UFC. Kickboxers like Alex Bea go over to the UFC. And the UFC just has a monopoly over the combat sports world. If you want to make good money, you want to make a name, and you want to be the best, you go over to the UFC. Netflix, which I actually made a video previously thinking that Netflix was going to buy the UFC, or at least buy the streaming rights for the UFC, recently put on I can call it a freak show between Gina Carano and, I forgot her name, Ronda Rousey. They haven't fought in so long. Ronda was always going to win this. People like Gina. I like Gina. She was good in The Mandalorian, but, she had like 10 fights and fought nobodies except for Chris Cyborg, who demolished her. So this was a foregone conclusion. Bit of a freak show fight. Sure, it gets views, but it's no way to build a promotion. An interesting example, I think, for a company that was able to compete with a thought to be monopoly is AEW, pro wrestling brand, competing with the WWE. WWE's been a monopoly for a long time, and now that the UFC and the WWE, at least in the eyes of shareholders, are combined in TKO, I think it's a very interesting comparison to see how the AEW was able to find success against the WWE, which is on Netflix too. Kind of interesting, but how did they compete? Well, Tony Khan, very, very rich because of his dad, and he's a pro wrestling nerd. So what is he going to do? Well, he's going to sign older, established WWE talent. Think of older UFC fighters getting signed by their promotions. Think of Ronda Rousey. And you sign these older pro wrestlers to bring eyes to your program, and then you have them go against your new created rising stars, making your stars big, and eventually people start tuning in for your guys and not just the ex-WWE guys. One of the issues with how the UFC works and how rival MMA promotions work is usually the freak show fights or the old timey fights like Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey. They're not having Ronda Rousey lose to the next generation of fighter. So yes, they bring eyes to the sport, but when your undercard has like Nate Diaz, you're not developing guys. You're not giving guys a chance to you got to take advantage of the money you're paying the stars. That's the whole point, because you're burning money. Like Tony Khan had to burn money. You have to be willing to burn money to be able to establish guys. It's hard in the UFC because it's hard in these other promotions because when you sign these older guys, they're past their prime. So what are you gonna do? You're just gonna have them be sacrificial lambs and get murdered by your guys? I mean, that can work, but people won't love to see it. But it's a way to establish newer talent. But you have to have your own talent. People have to be tuning in to see your guys, not just the ex-UFC guys that won't last forever. And who would be willing to burn money on an MMA promotion? Maybe the Saudis. They've been turning their country into a sports hub. They've been trying to divest from all of their oil shares to get into politics for a brief second. And they want to divest in oil shares. They want to have different market shares. They've been going into the sports world really hard. But why are you going to go through the trouble of making an MMA promotion when you can just pay the UFC to make great cards at your country? Seems a lot easier, and that's why they're doing it. Another interesting example is Francis Ngannou, who I said I was going to go back to earlier in the video. Francis Ngannou is one of the rare examples where the UFC lost their champion. They lost the best fighter in the world at the time, and PFL overpaid for him. If you're PFL, what do? Well, you make these big Francis Ngannou cards, and then that's how you get people to tune in. And when people tune in, they like what they see, and they keep coming back. Except for, Francis left the UFC for the money. So if you don't lock him down in an exclusive contract, we're going to be nice and let him box. That's stupid because, he fought like 2 times in the PFL. Nobody watching this video watched those fights or paid for those fights. And then he boxed. And now he's on a Netflix card. It was a complete waste of money by PFL. You have to overpay guys to get them to come to your promotion. But you need to you need to take advantage of their star power to develop your own stars. It's the only way to do it. You have to do it. The UFC seems to be, they'll sometimes get the idea. I mean, Conor McGregor Khabib, biggest fight of all time. You had Tony Ferguson, Anthony Pettis as the co-main. That's really smart to hype up Tony Ferguson. And for Conor's next fight, you got Paddy Pimblett against Benoit Saint-Denis as that's a great way to get eyes on the sport. And that's what you do. You got to hype up and bring these guys in. But it's just hard to compete with the UFC at this point. And at this point now, where the UFC has signed the Paramount deal and they now stream their fights for free, if you have Paramount, I just don't see any way for any promotion to beat out the UFC. I mean, Scott Coker just got $60 million. He's the guy who made Bellator to make another promotion. Jake Paul trying with Netflix. You're not going to succeed because the UFC, they have the brand, they have the fighters, and now that their product is free or basically free, there's no avenue to get in. There's just no avenue to get in. It's just not worth it. The UFC is going to stay a monopoly in this sport. And luckily, because the sport of MMA is still growing, the UFC still have reason to try. I think this year's been very good. Maybe the past 2 years, I feel like they kind of put their foot off the gas. But, new Paramount deal. They want to impress the shareholders. They want to, this is their chance. This is their chance. They are the exclusive. They are the big new product on Paramount. They are, the sport on Paramount. You got the White House card. You got Conor McGregor's comeback. This is a chance for the UFC to grow to new heights. And as the UFC continues to grow, and I think it has potential to be a top 3 sport in the world, as the UFC continues to grow, I see no promotion having even a hope of catching up. And really, at the end of the day, there's no reason to try. So, hope that doesn't disappoint you guys, but hey, as long as UFC gives us good fights, we'll be submissive and we'll press play. That's all you can hope for at the end of the day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace.